Glorilla recently got a nose job and I want to talk about it. Actually, I really don't want to talk about her nose job. What I specifically want to talk about is the faux concern trolling and the honestly gaslighting that is occurring as a result of this nose job. There's been a lot of chatter on these East streets over the past few days about Black girls getting nose jobs. And if I'm being 110% honest, I really find the discourse, at best, it's disingenuous, and at worst, it is gaslighting. I'm really over the faux concern and people not being honest behind the motivations of not just Glorilla and Black girls, but women in general getting body augmentations, plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery. And while we as a society preach this message of love yourself to young girls and young women, the actions are not lining up. If we wanted young girls to love themselves and accept their natural bodies as they are, not just young girls, but teenagers, young women, and women in general, if we were honest about preaching this message of natural bodies and self-love and just love yourself the way we are, the messaging would line up with the actions. But the actions as a society is we hyper focus on the superficial, on what's outside, and we reward people based off of their looks alone, often people who go under the knife. And that's what I want to talk about. Aloha, beautiful humans. Welcome to my channel if you are new here. Welcome back if we've been locked in. My name is Sasha, and you heard the intro, so let's get right on into it. Before we get into it though, we're coming up on the end of May, and if we've been locked in, you know I'm really trying to hit a 3,000 subscriber goal by the end of May. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and if you're like, I'm not convinced yet, at the very least, engage with the content, like the video, comment, let me know your thoughts, and let me know what you would like to see more of on this channel. Because while I do a lot of social commentary, DEI, your girl is also lifestyling and skincaring and beauty industry. So engage with all the content. You may not resonate. The social commentary and the DEI and the current events may or may not resonate with you. Maybe the lifestyle stuff resonates with you. Maybe the fitness stuff resonates with you. Maybe the beauty stuff, maybe the skincare. So just let me know what you want to see on this channel and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, engage with the content. I would greatly appreciate it. Speaking of lifestyle and beauty, your girl just got her hair did. And the braids are, I'm not gonna lie, they're giving a little boneless, but I'm noticing that my braids, when they're heavy, I just don't like the way that they feel. And I'm also, we're trying to protect the edges. So I was like, yeah, go a little bit light, only 2 or 3 pieces. And I love them. They may be giving boneless to you, but I kind of love the like sleek, bust down, straight look. And I'm a natural blonde. So we're just coming into our natural blondness for the summer. Okay, anyways, let's get into it. Glorilla recently got a nose job. I really don't have any thoughts about it one way or the other. While I myself do not have any plans of getting a nose job anytime soon, my thoughts on plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, any enhancements that you want to get, my thoughts are I legit don't care. Like, it's your body, do what you want to do with it. I've subscribed to the mindset that God generally doesn't make mistakes, and most of our natural features, they just shape our bodies, our faces very well. However, sometimes you're like, God, I didn't really appreciate this, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix this. And whatever God didn't give you, the doctor can. So if you have the money and the means, go out and nip it, tuck it, suck it, flip it, whatever you want to do. It is not my place to judge what anybody chooses to do with their body, because I'm literally not living your life. I'm not living in your skin. I don't know how these things may or may not be impacting you. While for me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I love my nose. I don't have any plans of touching it ever. If you don't like your nose, if you don't like anything on you, go ahead and fix it. Life is too short. Like I said, if you have the means to do so, do it. I honestly, if I'm being 110% honest, I find plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, enhancements, I find all of that stuff very interesting. Like, one of my favorite YouTubers, I've been watching her content for years, and I honestly believe everybody should be watching it, probably for different reasons, but Lauryn Hill is one of my favorite YouTubers. And what I love about her channel is a lot of people, when they talk about plastic surgery, it is from a very disingenuous place. It's from a very judgmental place. Like, oh, if you have plastic surgery, you must hate yourself. What I like about Lauryn Hill's channel is, like I said earlier, and I'll get into it a little bit in the video, We as a society reward people who look a certain way, who fit a certain mold. We put these people on a pedestal, and more often than not, these people are celebrities, they're influencers, they're movie stars, or, they're actresses, they're now influencers. They're just people we put on a pedestal as a society who are rewarded for showing up and being beautiful. Some of them may have talent, some of them have their own talents and their own skills. However, one thing about them that stands out is their beauty. And what I love about Lauryn Hill's channel is that when we see a lot of these celebrities, they're not as honest and open about the procedures that they have done. And while I don't think anybody needs to disclose all of the work that they have gotten done, I think it's very disingenuous and very dangerous and misleading to say, oh, I'm naturally beautiful like this. I didn't get any plastic surgery. You know what Kylie did with her lips, selling her lip kits, saying that, oh, if the lip kits are giving me these lips. And it's like, girl, you have filler. You know it. I know it. We all know it. What are you talking about here? But anyways, what I love about Lauryn Hill's channel is that she's not judgmental about plastic surgery. She just lists the procedures that all of these people have had. And it really goes to show that none of us are ugly. Nobody's lacking. Nobody's ugly. More often than not, people are just broke. If you too had the money, you would look like a lot of these celebrities and influencers. If you had the money, the time, the access, and the resources. And that's what I love about Lauryn Hill's channel, because plastic surgery, I feel, is one of those equalizers. When you look at these before and afters of the vast majority of these celebrities, they look like regular people. And she talks about this in a very matter-of-fact way, while also giving you an understanding of the sheer amount of money and time that go into these procedures, and that it's done over years. So anyways, if you do not watch her content, I highly recommend you watching Lauryn Hill's channel for no reason other than it is just really informative. And I also think it gives just a down-to-earth, very realistic perspective of plastic surgery. And I think we're honestly getting that from social media anyway. Social media has lifted this veil, because there was a time where a lot of celebrities and public figures, they could get away with, oh, I just grew up. How many times do you hear a celebrity say, I didn't get a boob job, I just grew into my natural woman body? And it's like, girl, that's a boob job. Like, what are we talking about here? What I really enjoy about social media is I think it is lifting a veil. At the same time, it is also overexposing us to constantly be looking at our faces, looking at our bodies, and judging them against everybody else. And I think that social media, while it has lifted this veil, and I think it is a really good thing, I also think it's just gone too far in the sense that now you have influencers, regular people like you and me who look like you and me, but they become influencers, and now they are, enhancing their bodies and changing their bodies. Social media has made plastic surgery very accessible to the average person. It is also in a very weird way, because we spend so much time now looking at our faces, so much time plugged in to what everybody else looks like, what everybody else is doing. I think it is creating this hyper focus on the superficial, and a lot of people, just everyday average regular people working 9-to-5s, working at hospitals, nurses are going out and getting BBLs to look like actresses and celebrities and public figures and pop stars and rappers. And it's just like, this is not a part of your profession. And on the one hand, I do understand celebrities and actors and actresses and pop stars and rappers and people in the arts and any public figures, any public facing role where your appearance can make or break your success and your income is dependent on your appearance. I absolutely understand people going out and getting cosmetic procedures and plastic surgery, etc. But when you have the regular person like, myself, I don't know, I'm on YouTube, so content creator, influencer, whatever. I'm just saying the average person, maybe a teacher, maybe a doctor, maybe a lawyer. As a society, we have upped the ante, and we have increased the expectations of what regular average people look like. That bar has been increased to keep up with actors and actresses and pop stars and public figures in a way that never was there. That pressure was never there before. And I think in part it has something to do with social media. And that's where I actually found out that Glorilla had her nose job on social media. But before she unveiled her nose job, there was a social media, I wouldn't even call her a content creator, an influencer. She was just this girl on social media, this Black girl who got a nose job, and it went viral because the nose job, it hasn't settled yet. It still looks unhealed. It's a very interesting nose job, to say the least. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let you watch the video. This girl went viral unveiling her nose job. And as you can see, like I said, it is still in the process of healing. It's got that pinched and upturned nose that we often see a lot of Black people get when they get nose jobs by maybe people who do not have a lot of experience in ethnic rhinoplasties. That's what they're calling them now. There's a lot of people, I saw people calling it the Turkey special, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me laugh because I was in Turkey or Turkey. I was there in either 2022 or 2023, I can't remember. I was there not too long ago, and I did notice on the plane ride back from Turkey, where I was like, wait, I think we went somewhere else after Turkey. Anyways, I did notice that in the airport, there were a lot of Turkey hairlines. A lot of people had bandages on their hair. I guess they just got their hairline done, on their nose. People were in wheelchairs and body casts. I guess they just got BBLs done. So a lot of Black people, as is my understanding, a lot of Black people and people of color who are seeking rhinoplasties, they will go to Turkey because apparently a lot of doctors and plastic surgeons in Turkey specialize in ethnic rhinoplasties. I don't know if she went to Turkey, I'm not sure, but she went viral because her nose job is just, it's giving Michael Jackson. And I'm not saying that to be mean. That's what she is saying about herself. She's actually been a really good sport about the honest bullying she is receiving, because a lot of what I found about her, and I think the reason why it didn't even start with concern trolling with her, it went straight to bullying, because she genuinely likes her nose, and I think that is another thing that I really admire about this girl. She is not letting the internet bully her, and she's taking it very well. And when people want to bully you, they want to punch you down and break you down, and when that's not happening, a lot of people get really frustrated and angry, like, oh, why aren't you succumbing to my abuse? But anyway, she changed her profile picture to Michael Jackson, and I just think it's funny. I think she's been a very good sport about it. And she did say she's only 5 months post-op. If you know anything about nose jobs, what I've learned from Lori Hill's channel is that it takes at least a year for you to see like actual results, what your new nose may look like. It takes a year for the swelling to go down. It's a major part of your face. You just got a major surgery on a big part of your face. It's going to take some time. So she's being a really good sport about it. But she got her nose job done, and there was a lot of conversation, surrounding that. And then just timing wise, Glorilla came out and announced her nose job. Let me rephrase that, because she didn't announce her nose job so much as she was on live or posted a video. I think it was live, but she posted a video and somebody clocked it. They were like, wait a minute, is that a new nose? Like, why is your nose looking upturned? Did you get a nose job? And Glorilla simply was like, and did. And I think that's pretty awesome. One thing I don't like is, again, when people lie about getting plastic surgery, like the Kardashians. All those women do is lie. These women lie. Like, oh my God, the lies. But anyways, that's what I can't stand. Like, if it's enhanced, just say that. If it's enhanced, just say that, I really appreciate that Glorilla was like, and did. What now? Since her confirming that she has got a nose job, there has been just a lot of discourse on social media that I find to be particularly disingenuous. We live in a society that is highly superficial and rewards looks above talent. If we're going to talk about those looks and what they're based in, it goes unsaid that we have to acknowledge the fact that we live in a society that still upholds remnants of white supremacy. And one of those remnants and one of those tenets of white supremacy is white beauty standards. Now, I have been seeing some conversation amongst white women and even other non-Black people of color talking about nose jobs. However, I think what makes the nose jobs that we're seeing on some Black women, for example, not just the Zuri girl, but Money Long, Janet Jackson, the noses don't fit Black faces. I think when we talk about good nose jobs, I think Kelly Rowland has an amazing nose job. I love her nose job. Beyonce has a great nose job. Sierra has a really good nose job. Sierra's nose job is very cute. Tiana Taylor has a good nose job. All of those women, what makes it different is that, yes, they got nose jobs, but they still look Black. Like their noses look like Black noses, like natural noses you would find on Black women. However, Money Long's nose, the Zuri girl's nose, I honestly don't even think Glorilla's nose job is that bad. Maybe, again, it just needs time to settle and form into her face. But anyways, when we talk about the standards of beauty, particularly when it comes to your nose, when you think about European standards of beauty surrounding the nose, it's smaller in nature. It's like a button nose. It's more upturned. It's got a slopiness to it. It's not wide. It's very straight. It's very narrow. Those standards of beauty still exist. And while that is a white standard of beauty, in the Black community, there are some people who are still upholding Eurocentric standards of beauty through colorism, through featureism, through texturism. And we see that happen absolutely within the Black community. When it comes to Glorilla's nose, it is a prominent feature on her face. She has a wider nose. I don't think there's anything wrong with her nose. It suits her face just fine, but it is something that a lot of people, when she came out, I noticed a lot of negative commentary towards Glorilla. It was about her body. She's too skinny. She needs to go and get a BBL. And then my understanding is, I know she got a breast augmentation. I don't know if she went and got a full BBL, but then people criticized her about that. Oh, why would she go out and change her body? Why would she go out and get her body done? And it's like, really? Stop the gaslighting, okay? You can't make fun of somebody about a feature, and then when they succumb to peer pressure and bullying over that feature, when they go and change it, you bully them more under the guise of, oh, you should just love yourself. Like, what type of nonsense is that? Like, I hate that. That's the disingenuousness that I am talking about. And the same happened with her nose. People clowned her about her nose. People bullied her about her nose. And then she goes out and gets a nose job. And now people are like, oh, she should have never touched her face. Her face was so pretty. And it's like, y'all don't like Black women. Like, y'all don't like Black women who look Black. Like, let's be perfectly honest here. Because when I think about a lot of Black female celebrities who reach a certain level of fame and status, they often go under the knife. And whether it is to appeal to, mainstream society, to uphold white standards of beauty, that's another conversation. Well, actually, I was going to say that's another conversation for another day, but actually this is the perfect conversation and this is the right day. So yes, I do think that some of them are getting these procedures done, maybe because they have low self-esteem, but I also think they are in a certain industry where they are probably aware that in order to reach a certain level of success, they have to look a certain way. It is just what it is, but we uphold that. We within the Black community, some of us uphold those same standards of beauty rooted in white supremacy. Just like Malcolm X said, who taught you to hate your nose? We know who taught us to hate our nose, but why are we still hating our noses? Why are we still hating on the people who have these features instead of loving on them and celebrating them? I'm just so over the disingenuousness. I'm over the concern trolling. I'm over the whole hypocrisy behind love yourself. And I think if I'm being 110% honest, I think some of this backlash is rooted in a little bit of self-hate, and not just self-hate, but honestly a little bit of jealousy when it comes to, we live in a culture of suffering. We live in a culture of suffering where a lot of people, they glorify and put on a pedestal, getting it out of the mud and just suffer, going through all of these challenges and rising above on the other side and just living with hardship and just plowing away and dealing with it. And I don't subscribe to that at all. Like I said, if you don't like something about yourself and you have the means, if you have the resources and the financial means to change it or fix it, do it. I don't only feel that way about plastic surgery and cosmetic surgery. I feel that way about Ozempic. I feel that way about weight loss surgery. I don't think you should have to go through all of the hardships of starving yourself and dieting down and, suffering through all of these gym workouts. Again, do not market yourself as a fitness influencer and lie to people that you were in the gym, you were dieting, you were exercising, and that's how you dropped this weight. No, if you had weight loss surgery, just say that. If you got a BBL, just say that. If you got lipo, just say that. That's my only caveat. That's my only caveat. Just be honest and say what you did. And again, we are not owed that. If people want to keep it on the low and they don't want to disclose the things that they've gotten done, that's fine too. They don't owe us anything. I just think it's a little weird to go through all of that and then not be honest about it. But hey, your amounts may vary. So anyways, like I said, I do think that there are some people who are only criticizing people who go out and get cosmetic surgery and plastic surgery and, go on Ozempic, get weight loss diets, get weight loss surgery and stuff, because they want those people to suffer through the insecurities and the hardships that come with not having access to those resources to change your appearance and create an easier life for yourself, because they know we live in a society that is superficial, that is judgmental, and that will reward people for their looks. And if you are not going to be rewarded the same way, I can understand some people feel this frustration towards others they feel who are cheating and who are not suffering the same way they are. And so when I hear a lot of the backlash, Ozempic was huge in 2020, 21, I think it's still huge now, but it's more accessible to more people. And it's so interesting to me how the conversation around it has changed, because now that it is accessible to more people, it is, oh, you're not using it for the right reasons. But I guarantee you those people who are frustrated I guarantee you those people who are like, oh, it's for diabetics, or you're taking the easy way out, you're not using it for the right reasons, et cetera, if they are struggling, a lot of their concern, a lot of their frustration is faux concern. It's like disingenuous. It's concern trolling, because if they had access to Ozempic, to weight loss surgery, to a dietitian, to a chef, if they had access and resources to change their life, they would absolutely do so. And so we all are living in a society where, under capitalism, where we are fighting for resources that are limited. And so everybody is going to do their best to put themselves in a position to succeed. And unfortunately, self-love does not factor into that equation, especially when you see people being rewarded for changing their bodies, for changing their faces, for ascribing to white standards of beauty. That is just the reality we live in. And who is a part of that? You and me. A lot of people, again, their actions do not line up with their words. It's like people complaining every 6 to 7 months that they're tired of influencers, eat the rich, but these people won't even unfollow the rich. Their issue is not with the rich. It's not with capitalism. It's that they are not rich. They are not benefiting from these systems that they see other people benefiting from. And it's very frustrating for them. But instead of them to be honest about it, what do? They concern troll and just have disingenuous discourse. And I don't like that. But going back to beauty standards, your nose is the most defining feature on your face. I would honestly say your nose, your eyes, and your eyebrows. Africa is a continent with a great diversity of people of different racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds. So not all Black people look the same. I'm not sitting here saying that all Black people have wide noses. No, there is a diversity of different noses. When I even think about this, none of my siblings, I'm thinking about my brothers and sisters now, and none of us have the same nose. So obviously our noses are similar. We are Nigerian, and there is a quintessential West African face, West African noses. But even within West Africa, even within Nigeria, there are a diversity of noses, skin tones, facial features. And one of those diversity of noses, it's just a larger and a wider nose. And that is the case for some people who are of African descent. However, unfortunately, within Western standards of beauty, that nose is not regarded as something beautiful, especially when it's on women, which is really unfortunate. And honestly, I commented about how I was raised on a separate video, the 12 feet of self-hate video I did about the statue in New York. I commented about how I was raised and how my parents were really intentional about the images that I was taking in. And, I think my parents really raised me the ways in which they were intentional about what we watched, what we listened to. It really left me with a high sense, with a high level of racial self-esteem. And in the comments, and I spoke to that in the video, and in the comments, somebody said that because of my upbringing, I was sheltered and it left me with a blind spot. And I'm like, if the blind spot, that upbringing, being raised to regard myself and my features, my dark skin, my hair, my nose, if being sheltered in that way left me with a blind spot of thinking my features are beautiful, and not wanting to change them, I'm very grateful to have that blind spot. It was actually crazy to me the way they framed it. Like it's a bad thing that I was raised with a high racial self-esteem and I didn't hate myself. Like 2025, it is, we are only 5 months into this year and it feels like 5 years packed into one. Like it is wild. But anyways, I think it is really unfortunate because like I said, even though I have no issue with plastic surgery, I generally think that the way our faces are naturally, I think most of our features just suit the vast majority of our faces. Some people may be like, you know what? I don't like my natural features. And like I've said that throughout this entire video, that's fine. They are making choice. They are entitled to make that choice for themselves. And it doesn't really have any impact on me one way or the other because none of us exists in a vacuum. To act as if somebody would just hate themselves out of nowhere or not even hate themselves. Because I think it's like a little ridiculous to be like, you got this feature changed, so you hate yourself. Like my hair is in braids. Does it mean I hate my natural hair? I think like we take things to an extreme sometimes and it doesn't necessarily need to go there. Now, yes, are some people influenced to get cosmetic surgery and plastic surgery and alter their appearance because they hate themselves? Yes. It would be disingenuous to say no. However, like I said, none of us exists in a vacuum. This feeling of self-hatred, it's coming from somewhere. And I think in the Black community, we have to take a really hard look at ourselves, specifically in the Black American, the Western Black community of the diaspora. We have to take a look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves if we are being honest with the self-love messages we are preaching to young girls, young women, teenagers. How are we simultaneously telling women to love themselves, telling young girls they should love themselves and their skin and their hair and their Blackness as a whole? But then we are putting on a pedestal women who do not generally represent the Black community, or the women who are being put on a pedestal, they are not showing, there's not a diversity in the beauty of Blackness and what all shades of Blackness look like, especially with Black women. All features of Blackness, from our nose to our hair, to our skin color, to our build. When you look at the Black community as far as Western standards of beauty, who is put on the pedestal within the Black diaspora, there is not very much diversity. And young Black girls are seeing that. I remember coming up in the 90s, I think there was so much representation of Blackness. And as we go into the late 90s and the early 2000s and the mid 2000s, we slowly start to see this erasure of any diversity. And that is what I came up with. And thinking about it now, if I didn't have my parents who were so intentional about the media we were taking in, I do not recall, other than Kelly Rowland, I cannot really think of Missy Elliott, Tweet, but Tweet wasn't really popping back then. I mean, she had, I loved her. There goes my skirt up over my head. Oh my. But you know, like the really pretty girls, the girls we put on a pedestal as pillars of beauty within the Black community. When you think back to the late 90s, and not even the late 90s, because I think we still had a level of diversity. I think the diversity really just went away with this like Y2K era. Other than Kelly Rowland, there were no really dark-skinned Black girls for me to aspire to, and other millennials, well, I guess older millennials now, I can't speak to middling millennials, younger millennials, and now Gen Z. But thankfully, the pendulum is swinging in the opposite direction, where we are now starting to see a little bit more diversity. But we have to be honest, within our own community, we ascribe very much so to white standards of beauty. So why would we be surprised when Black girls grow into young Black women who have the means to do so and start playing with their noses? Come on, like, let's be honest. And I don't even think, again, I don't think this nose job trend, I don't think it's a trend. I think it is only more visible because we are on social media and we are seeing everything. Everything is on full display now because of social media. Black women have been getting nose jobs. You know, Halle Berry got a nose job, and she's been acting since the late 80s, early 90s. I recognize that she is biracial, but she identifies as Black, so I'm going to call her Black. But, you know, she's biracial. She got a nose job. Vivica A. Fox got a nose job. Her nose job is the more European leaning side. And I think it's honestly what it is. If we're being 110% honest, I wonder if Nia Long got a nose job. I think Nia Long got a nose job too. But anyways, I think it is not that Black women are getting more nose jobs. I think it's just A, it's more visible because of social media. B, more regular people are getting nose jobs and they're putting that on social media. But also the nose jobs are just not the best. You know, again, it's that European nose that does not suit most of our faces naturally. You know, the Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson kind of nose. I think that is what's generating the conversation, because I personally do not feel like I'm seeing any more or less Black women on TikTok, on these e-streets getting social media. I think the reason why they're going viral now, it's because they're not as good. And we have, again, you know, go to Turkey. Ethnic nose jobs are now a thing. So there are doctors who are devoted to and who specialize and practice predominantly, exclusively ethnic rhinoplasties, Black rhinoplasties. So now that we know that, I think what is sparking the conversation is that why are these nose jobs still so bad? And maybe it is it still has to do with white supremacist standards of beauty. Some Black women are going out and purposefully seeking these European noses, but maybe it's just, they're just bad. Maybe the fact that they're bad, and again, the worst of the worst goes viral on TikTok. So maybe that's just what's happening, and maybe it's just not that deep. And when I think about Ciara, Kelly Rowland, Beyonce, Halle Berry, you know, I think all of their natural noses look really good. I don't think there was anything wrong actually with their original noses. But again, because we live in this society where in order to get ahead, you do, especially in certain professions and industries, how you look is a major focus. Would they have gotten as far as they did if they had kept their original noses, if they had kept their original faces? I guess we'll never know. With so many things, it honestly comes back to social media. How much time we are spending on social media and the access many people have to social media, and how social media is informing reality. What is happening on the internet is informing people's behavior in real life, for better, but more often for not, let's be honest, more often than not for worse. With social media, we are exposed now more than ever to so much information, and many of it much of it being very superficial and looks based. And that is informing how the average person views how they look and their perception of self, as well as their self-esteem. And if you don't have a high level of self-esteem, or you're trying to reach a certain standard of beauty because you see that being rewarded, not just within celebrities and public figures, but within the average person walking down the street, social media is now more financially accessible than ever. Put it on a credit. A lot of people's mentality is, I'm going to put it on a credit card and I'm going to go and get it done. And I'm going to reap those rewards and benefits. And they're often not wrong. I think about so many influencers nowadays. There has been this transition of influencer. I've been on the internet for a very long time. And when the internet was just starting out, it was very much, again, the average person sitting down, putting a camera in front of their face, and you can find very much success in that space. But nowadays, in order to even, and again, I talked about this in my 12 foot of self-hate, that the backlash against the statue, there is like this war on average looking people. There's just war on people who just want to show up and maybe not have their face beat to the God all the times, maybe not always have on the newest fit, just people to show up comfortably as they are, a little bit stripped down. I said in that video that I can't just get on here on these are far from the early days of YouTube. 10, 15, 20 years ago, I can make a career just propping up my camera and filming, looking like I just rolled out of bed. Now, again, the standards are different for Black women. They've always been different for Black women. But nowadays, the bar is so much higher. And there are so many influencers nowadays. I look at them where they started in 2020 and where they are just 5 short years later. And I'm genuinely surprised at the amount of plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures a lot of them are getting. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I don't think there's anything wrong with Botox, with filler, with plastic surgery, with cosmetic surgery, with Ozempic, with weight loss surgery. If you want it, go get it. I don't care. More power to you. I'll be cheering for you from the sidelines. Oh God. But I think that it's almost very dystopian that in just 5 short years of these people making their careers off of the internet, so many of them have completely altered the way they look. And while some of them will never come out and say it was plastic surgery, and I can only sit here and speculate, and I'm not going to sit here and name names as a result, because I've only been talking about people I've only named people who have either verified it, or you can very obviously tell through pictures. It's not something naturally that, it's not a natural change that could possibly occur. But I'm not going to sit here and name all of these influencers. But what I will say is I give a lot of credit to the influencers who are showing up nowadays and are at the very least trying to push back against that, because it is really hard. And with, again, influencers, am I faulting them for going out and getting anything done? No, because their industry is very looks heavy. It's very looks based, but it is just so unfortunate that, again, being in front of a camera and just being on social media, it is informing so much of our sense of reality and what is normal amongst people who are not public figures, who are not celebrities, who are not actors, who are not actresses, who are not pop stars, who are not rappers, but are just lifestyle blogger girlies who now morph their entire being to fit this image and then are subsequently rewarded for it in a world that tells you to love yourself. But we are not rewarding people who are loving themselves and showing up authentically as they are. The words are not matching the actions, because the actions are giving, you see who has millions of followers and you see what gets put on a pedestal, rewarded and amplified, whereas the words would have you thinking it would be the exact opposite. We're spending more time on social media, and the people on social media are getting younger and younger. These young people are seeing certain images that are being reinforced as what is beautiful, what is the standard. And so I think it is ridiculous to then chastise these same people who grow up and they start acting on what society and even regular people are putting on a pedestal and praising. It's even worse now because, like I said, with social media, you can earn a very lucrative career as a content creator, as an influencer, where you are rewarded for going out and enhancing yourself. And when you look at specifically Black women, not just Black women celebrities and public figures and actors, actresses, rappers, what have you, when you also look at Black girls and Black women in the social media space who are influencers and content creators put on a pedestal, a lot of them have the same look. A lot of them are not darker than a paper bag. A lot of them ascribe to or fall into these white supremacist standards of beauty. And this is why I ride so hard for Jackie Aina, because from day one, she never switched up, and she showed so many of us that we can show up in this space authentically as ourselves, as dark-skinned Black women, who ride for, who speak for, who create content for dark-skinned Black women, and be rewarded for it and build a career and have a platform, but she is literally one of one. Like, when I honestly think about the other influencers and content creators who have the same level of success, she is quite literally one of one. We do not often see Black women, dark-skinned Black women, reach the same level of success. And when you think about the highly recognizable Black women content creators, other than Jackie Aina, where is you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's giving very much paper bag test. I'm not saying the girls be bleaching, because that is not a Black American problem in the diaspora, or a Western Black problem. That's not a problem we have here in the diaspora. Bleaching is not an issue for us here. But colorism is. Colorism very much so is. And honestly, I kind of wonder why bleaching hasn't really taken. No, I don't want, please do not run with that. That was just a thought. That should have remained an inside thought. Anyways, we move. I've referenced a few times the video that I did on the statue. If you haven't watched that video yet, go check it out. It was a really good video, if I do say so myself. That video, I discussed how everyone was so mad about this statue allegedly not representing Black women in a positive light. However, that statue looks like the vast majority of Black women. People were clowning this statue last week for not being representative of Black women because it cast us in a bad light and it made us look ugly and fat and aggressive and all of the negative things. It was natural, and not all Black women naturally look like that. Some of us are beautiful. Some of us are skinny. Some of us are beautiful. Some of us don't look like everyday regular slobs. Okay. Everybody who hated on that statue was complaining about the fact she looked a certain way. She looked average. Okay. Well, now we got Glorilla here upholding another standard of beauty with her new nose job. And we got the Zuri girl over here with her nose job, and she's pretty and she's prim, like she's a princess. Like, her body is great. You can tell she be in the gym. And I'm like, okay. So we have now been presented with the complete opposite of that statue in this Zuri girl. And even Glorilla, Glorilla is very petite. She's always looking good. She's always got her makeup done. She's always got her jewelry on. She be bling blinging. Okay, so now we have the exact opposite of this statue. The representation, Black women were complaining, or not all Black women, some Black women were very irritated about the statue representing us. And now that you have this imagery of everything you said you wanted, now you're complaining about her nose job and she needs to love herself. Like, wrap it up. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this video, because you see what I'm saying? This is why I can't take this backlash seriously, because it's hypocritical. It's disingenuous concern trolling, and I just don't got the time for it. In 2025, I got a lot of time for a lot of things. I don't have time for concern trolling and disingenuous commentary. Miss me with it. Miss me. But let's wrap this up, because this video is getting long. I always say that. Although last week I did post a video that was less than 30 minutes long. Actually, it was exactly 29 minutes and 59 seconds long. I was so proud of me. But anyway, at least Glorilla and the Zuri girl owned up to their nose jobs, and they seemed very happy, which honestly, good for them. I think it's really disingenuous to scream at Black women to love themselves while we actively live in a white supremacist society. And we within the Black community, many of us uphold white standards of beauty. We participate in that system, praising those same beauty standards while putting down girls with more ethnic features. And then we turn around and go after these girls when they alter those ethnic features that several people made fun of them for. I do think some of it stems from jealousy and envy, not being able to access those resources. And many women who would love to get nose jobs but hate their nose, they have to settle for, contouring or really good filters or angles or whatever. Meanwhile, somebody who has rigged the system or who's cheating is out there getting surgeries and procedures to enhance their faces. And so I think that some of that concern trolling and some of this noise absolutely stems from a level of jealousy. I could easily sit here and say, love yourself. And I honestly preach that message because honestly, self-love is the best love. Nobody's going to love you the way you're going to love you. And if you don't love you, you spend 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year in your head, in your mind. And if you don't love yourself, if you don't love this body, every day will feel like you are at war with yourself. And it is the worst feeling ever. It would be, however, so disingenuous for me to sit here and tell you to love yourself in a world that does not make it easy for girls to love themselves, for women to love themselves, but especially Black girls, especially dark-skinned Black girls. It is so hard to tell them in a world that actively reinforces white supremacist beauty standards that negatively impact Black women and girls the most. How are we literally, honestly going to sit here and tell Black girls to love themselves and then simultaneously punch down on them when they ultimately succumb to the pressures of or have low self-esteem, low racial self-esteem, because they don't fit this standard of beauty that not only does mainstream society put on a pedestal, but many people in their own community, in our own community, put on a pedestal. I am not opposed to anyone doing what they feel they need to do to survive or get ahead, especially in this economy, especially if you view it as something that is going to help you survive and thrive in whatever field you are in. And we have already proven that it has. With so many women, we can see that they don't reach a certain level of success or they are not rewarded until they look a certain way. Look no further than the Kardashians. We have already proven that we live in a society that absolutely does reward people for showing up and with nothing but their beauty and how they look, and they will be rewarded for it. And the only way we can stop this, if we want to stop it as a society, if people are really, if they're not just concerned trolling, but they actually care and are concerned about how normalized it is for people to go out and augment their bodies or are constantly in filters or constantly photoshopping themselves or just or have developed very low levels of self-esteem. If we want to stop that in its tracks, we as a society, our actions need to start lining up with our words. We need to be celebrating all types of beauty as a society, especially in the Black community, not just that specific type of beauty, not just, light skin, loose 3C hair, BBL or slim thick. We need to be rewarding and putting on a pedestal all levels of beauty. Not rewarding, not upholding texturism, featureism, colorism, and fat phobia, but really honoring and celebrating all types of beauty. If we actively want people to love themselves, we need to be celebrating beauty on all ends of the spectrum and not upholding a single individual standard of beauty, not just within mainstream society, but within the Black community. So drop down in the comments, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, help me reach this 3,000 subscriber goal. Please and thank you. And until next time, peace out.